Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Nash and Arnold series. My plans right now are to compete at CPU Nationals February 26th and then go on to do both the Pro Deadlift equipped and the equipped Grand Prix at the Arnold about 4 or 5 days later. So this training block and into the next training block are gonna be sort of both preparing for those competitions kind of at the same time. So right now I'm doing a raw block specifically. We've shortened the length of the block by kind of increasing the overall frequency. So what we've done is we've essentially doubled the microcyclic frequency, which means we're doing 2 weeks worth of work each week, or maybe 1.5 when you take a look at the volume. So my day 1 and 2 are almost a full week's worth of work. Take a day off Wednesday, and then I come in Thursday, Friday, and do another same day 1 and 2, and repeat that throughout this training cycle. So today's workout was comp squat, comp bench, feet up bench, comp deadlift, and RDLs. So let's run through that. First off, I did some squats today. We had the crew from CTV, which is a local news station in here today. They awarded me Athlete of the Week for the performance in Pilsen, and that was really cool. Had a good time chatting with those guys and did a little interview, and it'll be on the news, and that's pretty cool. As for squats, today's actually technically day 3, so this is gonna come out in a little bit of a weird order, but this is my second A day of this week, if that makes any sense. If not, don't worry, you're not missing anything. So squats today went a little bit better. Day 1 and 2 earlier this week, both days my squats felt really, really bad. My hip pain was back and really hindering me. Pin squats, I had a terrible time with, as you'll see in the next video. Again, don't mind the temporal displacement or anything like that. So yeah, today's squats went really well. I hit 265 for single, came down to my volume at 197.5 for 4 sets of 5, and it was pretty good. I was in a lot less pain today, still struggling a little bit to find a completely pain-free mechanic, but getting much closer than I have the past couple workouts. Moved on from that to do my competition bench, and up 2.5 kilos from earlier this week. My first single would have been at 155 kilos, and today was 157.5 kilos. So onwards and upwards there, and I actually felt better about my 157 today. I felt it move better, my shoulders felt better set, etc. My volume for my competition bench was 137.5 kilos for 5 sets of 4. Those again felt pretty good. I feel like I'm kind of getting the hang or getting better at using my leg drive to make sure that I'm staying in a good position, all that kind of stuff. From there, I did my competition deadlift, and deadlift today went way better than Monday. Monday, I think it was my first time pulling even relatively heavy, not in a suit for quite a while. So I pulled 332 on Monday, and it took like 3 seconds to break the floor. I started pulling, it was just kind of like, well, why isn't this moving? And then it broke the floor and was like, ah! So it went really well, but again, it was challenging to break the floor. I think I'm used to kind of using that bit of a suit off the bottom, getting that extra bit of pop. So today, rectified that a little bit, had a little bit more speed off the floor, was a little bit smoother, went up to 337.5 kilos today, and that moved really well. Then my volume sets today, up 5 kilos, 257.5 kilos, number of sets of 5 there. My volume for my raw deadlift has been feeling really good. It's 70% for 5, so it shouldn't be super taxing, but it's just feeling very smooth and locked in and technically nice and proficient. After my competition deadlifts, I went on to do my RDLs, and those ramped up from, I think, about 142 to 152. Sets of 10, nothing super exciting, but I am able to do some work in a conventional pattern without my hip hurting. Those are, I would say, 99% pain-free. So that's a good thing. It's a big step forward to be able to do even some work in a conventional pattern without it hurting my hip. So we count that as a win. The last thing I did today was some feet up bench, and bumped those up a little bit from Monday. Ended up at 107.5 for 10. Something like that anyways. I really like feet up bench. I find that, I mean, obviously my upper body is a weak link, and this really takes any leg drive or lower body emphasis out of the movement and focuses specifically on my shoulder stability, my ability to maintain position using only the muscles in my upper body. So I feel like that's a pretty beneficial movement for me, and I'm hoping it does some good things for my bench press. We're gonna move on to the question of the day today, and that comes from James Mester, and he wants to know what my thoughts are on meet frequency for the average lifter. Do I think they should have designated on and off seasons? Should they try to space them out relatively evenly? First thing is, I agree, you mentioned in the comment that competing and lifting in a meet setting is definitely a skill in and of itself. So I believe I would advise beginner lifters to do up to 4 meets in a year. I would probably space them out relatively evenly so you can build up to a proper peak for one, take a little bit of a deload afterwards, and kind of figure out how long it takes you to peak, what kind of training you respond to. The more data you can collect, the better, especially when you're first starting off. A few more meets a year for a beginner or even early intermediate lifter, I think, can be beneficial, just in that you'll have more exposure to it. So I think it's important that you learn how to lift and deal with the nerves, and you're comfortable being judged to a competition standard. You wanna make sure you're not missing lifts on little infractions and stuff like that. As you advance in your career, you would compete less often because you've obviously begun to master that skill set of competition. And obviously, if you have issues with that, it's probably something you want to expose yourself to more. So let's say you're a later, more advanced lifter, but you have trouble with nerves and you have trouble with, being on the platform and lifting well on the platform and not getting caught up in your head. I would compete more often, almost as a training tool, Peak for every training block that you do a meet afterwards. Obviously that might be a little bit expensive depending where you compete and who you are, but that's just my 2 cents. So I would say more meets for earlier lifter, less meets per year for a more advanced lifter. And I don't think the whole on-season, off-season thing, in my opinion, would work super well for a power lifter. Putting a bunch of meets really close together, in my experience, leads to some of them having a bit more emphasis and some of them being better, some of them being not so good. But if you space them out, then you'll have a solid training block, you'll peak, you'll compete, you'll taper off, etc. So give each meet sort of its own attention, its own training, and go from there. Anyways, James, I hope that answers your question, man. I hope that gives you the information you were looking for. I tend to get a little bit jabbery, but hey, there you go. Couple things of note. Number 1, we launched some apparel on Saturday. Head to calgarybarbell.com, pick some stuff up. These hats, they're sick. Get one. Number 2, head over to Omar Isuf's channel. We just posted a video on there, and it is probably and hopefully the best sumo deadlift tutorial on the interwebs. We put a lot of work and a lot of effort into making it super kick-ass. Thank you, Omar, for hosting it. Hopefully some of you are here from that video, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. We'll see you guys soon.